Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. We are going to do the ninth session, episode of the summary of the Quran. And in this particular episode, we will do Surah Al-Anfal, which is the eighth surah of the Quran and the third surah of the second group of surahs. The second group of surahs comprises of four surahs: Al-An'am, Al-A'raf, Al-Anfal, and At-Tawbah. Al-An'am, the sixth surah of the Quran, was an invitation to the people of Mecca and the surroundings to believe in the oneness of God and the message that the Almighty has sent to them. Surah Al-A'raf is a stern warning to them that if they are not going to accept the message of the Almighty, which has become absolutely clear for them, they are going to be taken to task. And Surah Al-Anfal that we are going to do today is actually preparing believers for the task of inflicting God's punishment on the enemy, which God Almighty has decided that in the case of messengers, it's either going to be done through natural calamities or through the hands, the swords, the military might of the believers. Because the companions, followers of the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him, were decently large in number. Therefore, in the case of those who rejected his message, the punishment the Almighty decided would come through their hands. And the next surah, Surah Tawbah, is the surah of punishment. So, Surah Al-Anfal is preparation, preparing for the ultimate onslaught, the ultimate punishment that had to come to visit those people who rejected the message of the messenger of God. This particular surah is, as we see, talking about the Battle of Badr. Now, the Battle of Badr was actually a battle that was fought in order for the leadership of Quraysh to be eliminated. So it was a final, call it punishment, on the leadership of the tribe of Quraysh. But it was also paving the way for the rest of the people of Quraysh in particular and the Arabian Peninsula in general to think about God's message with an open mind, because those cruel leaders were not allowing the common man to think about the message that the Almighty had sent through his messenger with an open mind, independently. So once their pressure was over, this opportunity was provided to them. We have seen it earlier that there are some surahs of the Quran which are talking particularly about one battle or another that was fought during the time of the Prophet, may God's mercy be on him. So Surah Al Imran we saw was the surah of Battle of Uhud. Surah Al-Anfal is the surah of Battle of Badr. In Tawbah we'll see that it's a surah of Battle of Hunain as well as Battle of Tabuk, and Surah Ahzab is the surah of Battle of Ahzab. Obviously quite apart from many other passages and instructions that are there in the surahs as well. So we start with Surah Al-Anfal, and what we find is that the Almighty is saying, Yas'alunaka anil anfal. They are asking you about the spoils of war. They, that is, some of these weak Muslims, after the battle was over and the enemy fled, they left behind spoils of war, and as was the norm of the society, that the soldiers who would participate in a battle where after fighting the battle, the enemy that is defeated runs away, leaving behind spoils of war, it would get distributed amongst the people the soldiers who fought the battle, because they would fight it with their might, their own selves, and their wealth. And one of the incentives used to be that when they will fight and they will win, they will be able to share in the spoils of war. So, not surprisingly, some weak Muslims, not fully understanding what the whole purpose of this battle was, they started taking interest in the spoils of war, and the Almighty responded by saying, قُلِ الْأَنْفَالُ لِلَّهِ وَالرَّسُولِ. Tell them, you've got nothing to do with spoils of war. Spoils of war are for God and His Messenger. So fear God and correct your mutual relationship. That is, you have fought this battle not for the sake of spoils of war. You are the companions of the Messenger of God who has come with a mission, and you've understood that mission. So it's not befitting your attitude, your status, that you should ask for spoils of war. So forget about the spoils of war. Worry about, think of your own improvement, because the Almighty had decided that now that these companions of the Prophet are going to become His tools to inflict the punishment on the enemy, they will not be allowed to become His tools, a part of His mission, His project, unless they are going to purify themselves properly. And this was one important way that this whole idea was put across. They were informed that you don't deserve these spoils of war. You have to focus your attention on the more important project, the more important target at hand. So the Quran says in the next verse, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ إِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَجِلَتْ قُلُوبُهُمْ. True believers are only those people who, when God's message is mentioned before them, their hearts are shaken. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ. And when His verses are recited to them, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Their faith, belief increases. وَعَلَىٰ رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. And upon their Lord they rely. They are the ones who say their prayers regularly, and from what we have given them in the form of provisions, they spend. They are indeed the true believers, and they will have high rank with their Lord, and forgiveness and excellent provisions. So, a message has been clearly delivered to the companions that, look here, your job is very different. You have been selected for a very noble, important cause. Seeking spoils of war is too petty a goal for you to go for. Then we move on to verses 5 to 8, where the Almighty is mentioning the incidents that took place before, during, and after the Battle of Badr. كَمَا أَخْرَجَكَ رَبُّكَ مِنْ بَيْتِكَ بِالْحَقِّ. The kind of situation that you confronted while this discussion on dispute on the spoils of war was taking place, a situation similar to it happened when your Lord brought you, O Prophet, from your home, out of your home, for the Battle of Badr. That is, like there was some weakness shown by some companions, weak Muslims, in the case of spoils of war, a similar weakness was witnessed, experienced, when you came out of your house, home, in order to get involved in the Battle of Badr. For you came out for achieving a purpose, while a group amongst believers was reluctant. They didn't want to fight. They were arguing with you, O Prophet, even after the truth had become clear to them. They knew that this message was from God. They knew that the enemies are to be eliminated. They have to be inflicted with punishment through your hands. And yet they were arguing, even after the truth had become clear for them, as if they were being dragged looking towards death while they were looking on. So they were so scared, fearful, that they didn't want to get involved in the battle. It's the time when God promised you one of the two groups, that it will be yours. So there were two groups coming towards Medina, one from Mecca, which comprised of the leaders of Quraysh and their followers, fully equipped for the battle that they wanted to take place, so that in their own minds they had the plan that they would eliminate the people of Medina once and for all. And there was another caravan coming from the other side, and that was a trade caravan which the people of Quraysh, Mecca, had actually made an excuse that the Muslims of Medina were planning to attack that caravan, and therefore we are coming to their rescue, and they wanted this excuse to be made use of for them to be able to fight against the Muslims. And as their plan had been devised in their minds, they wanted to, as a consequence, fight against Muslims once and for all, just obliterate them. God wanted to establish the truth, on the other hand, by his decisions and eliminate the disbelievers. So that's what was going on. Verses 17 to 18 emphasize that what happened in the battle of Badr was all God's will. God made use of, employed the services of the companions to get rid of the enemies, particularly the leadership of Quraysh. And the Almighty says, Falam taqtuluhum. Believers, you did not kill them. Walakinna Allah qatalahum. Instead, it was God who killed them. Thereby clarifying that humans cannot kill other fellow humans unless somebody has killed somebody else or somebody is bent upon creating mischief on earth. But this battle was fought for the sake of the Almighty. It was God who was fighting this battle through his angels who were helping and aiding the companions. So, O companions of my Prophet, you did not kill them. It was God who killed them. And Wama Ramaita is Ramaita. O Prophet, you did not throw at the enemy dust when you threw it. Instead, it was God who threw that dust and turned it into a storm. And therefore, God is going to make sure that his plan to inflict punishment on the enemies is fully implemented. So what happened is before you, and God will frustrate all plans of the disbelievers. So in one sense, it was the final punishment for the leadership of Quraysh. And by the way, there were 70 people who got killed. All of them were people who were the high-ranking senior leaders of Quraysh. Most of them belong to that category, which is very rare that happens in wars. In most of the wars, it's the ordinary soldier who gets killed. But in this case, it was the leadership of Quraysh that was eliminated. Then the Almighty mentions in verse 19, and O people of Quraysh, whoever were left, the Almighty is addressing them. If you desire a decision from us, then a decision has already come. So it seems that before the battle of Badr was fought, people of Quraysh who thought they believed in God, they also thought that they pray to him, they talk to him. So they asked God to make sure that this encounter turns out to be decisive. It would decide as to who is on the right path and who is on the wrong track. So God responded to them after the battle, and he said, if you desired a decision from us, the decision has already come. If you stop yourselves from your earlier attitude, it will be good for you. And if you will repeat what you did before, we shall repeat too. And no matter how big your group, it won't help you, and God is with the believers. So God responded to them, making it absolutely clear that they have no other way out to save themselves from God's punishment except to believe in His message, or else, like their leaders have been subjected to punishment and killed, they too are going to meet with the same fate. Verses 22 and 23 tell us what went wrong. Why is it that these people of Quraysh, the disbelievers, were on the receiving end of the battle? Why is it that they were defeated and God's punishment was inflicted upon them? The Almighty says, indeed, the worst beasts in the eyes of God are those deaf and dumb people who don't use their intellect. Inna sharrad dawab indallahi summul bukmul lazina la yaqilun. So it's because these people didn't use their intellect properly. They didn't want to know what the truth was, and therefore they indulged in activities, in behavior, attitude that was absolutely wrong and unacceptable to the Almighty. And he goes on to say, Walau alim Allahu fihim khaira. Had God known something good in them, had He noticed something positive in them, la asma'ahum, they would have most certainly listened to God's message. So this is what the Quran keeps mentioning over and over again, that only those people get the opportunity of listening to God's message with an open mind, sympathetically, who deserve to listen to it positively with an open mind. But the Almighty says that had God known in them some goodness, khaira, la asma'ahum, He would have made them listen to the message. Walau asma'ahum. And now when they don't deserve it, if they are going to even listen to it, latawallaw, they are going to turn their backs, wahum morizun, and they will ignore it. They will not pay heed to it. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, and now this verse 24 is saying, believers, istajibu lillahi walir rasul. You respond positively to the message, the call that is being made to you through God and His messenger. Iza da'akum, when He is inviting you towards lima yuhikum, what promises to give you life, real life. That is, this message that you are being delivered. If you are going to respond positively to it, it's going to give you the real life of your spirit, of your soul. That's what real life is. This physical life, material life, is like the life of animals. There is a real, genuine human that is hidden somewhere inside this body, which needs to be alive, which needs to be strong. And the Almighty is telling believers that you should respond to the message of the messenger, the message that is inviting you towards real life. And he says, وَعَلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ, and be absolutely sure that God is the one who intervenes between man and his heart. وَأَنَّهُ إِلَيْهِ تُحْشَرُونَ, and that towards Him you're all going to be gathered. In other words, if you are not going to pay heed to our message and you will continue to ignore it over a period of time, we are going to stand between the message and your heart. We will not allow the message to influence your heart. We will misguide you. We will put seal on your hearts. This is what the Quran keeps saying in different ways, that The Almighty has decided a certain policy regarding who are the people who are going to get guidance and who are going to be misguided. And the Almighty is telling people who are being delivered the message that if you are not going to pay heed to the message that is being put across to you over a period of time, we will decide that we will not allow you to be guided anymore, and therefore take the message seriously. وَاتَّقُوا فِتْنَةً لَا تُصِيبَنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا مِنْكُمْ خَاصَّةً. And fear the fitna, fear the negative consequences of that eventuality, which is not going to come to only those people who are unfair evildoers amongst you only. That is, sometimes it so happens that if you are living in a society which is on the decline morally and spiritually, you are a good person, but you're not bothered about what others are doing, then be sure that it would not be enough for you to remain steadfast and a good person yourself unless you are doing as good as best as you can to correct your environment as well. Because if the evil ways continue in a society on the whole, then the society is going to be doomed. It will perish, it will be inflicted with the Almighty's punishment, and not just the evil people are going to be subjected to punishment, the good ones are also going to suffer from the calamity that would befall the population. So believers, be careful about it and be sure that sometimes it so happens that God's punishment comes to a population and it punishes and inflicts his punishment, his displeasure on the entire population. وَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ, and be absolutely sure that God is severe in penalty. Then God clarifies to the people, to the believers, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu, believers, in tattaqullaha yaj'al lakum furqanan. If you continue to be God conscious, then He is going to give you a criterion. That is, He will make sure that the environment of confusion that's prevailing at the moment, the situation which is as yet not quite as clear as to distinguish right from wrong, unquestionably, that confusion is going to be over if you will continue to be God conscious. So He's going to give you criterion for Furqanan. That is, things are going to happen. The situation is going to change in a way that to all good people, well-meaning people, it would become absolutely clear as to who are the ones who are on the right track and who are the ones who are on the wrong and following evil ways. وَيُكَفِّرْ عَنْكُمْ سَيِّئَاتِكُمْ, and He is going to do away with, remove your misdeeds, and وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ, and He's going to forgive you. And God most certainly is forgiving. وَاللَّهُ ذُو الْفَضْلِ الْعَظِيمِ, and God's forgiveness, His fazl, His bounty is great. The Almighty mentions in verses 32 to 34 that the people of Quraysh, their leaders in particular, before the battle of Badr, they actually prayed to the Almighty, asking Him to send a punishment on them if this message which is being presented by the messenger and his companions is indeed true, a true message from him. So the Quran says, وَإِذْ قَالُوا اللَّهُمَّ, and recall the time when they said, that is, the people of Quraysh said, the disbelievers said, Allahumma, O God, in kana huwa haza huwa al-haq, if this message is true and is from you, min indik, from your side, فَأَمْطِرْ عَلَيْنَا حِجَارَةً مِّنَ السَّمَاءِ, then you send to us a rain of stones from the sky, from the heavens. avitina bi azabin alim, or bring us some other severe punishment. So the Almighty responded to this demand of the enemy of the polytheists of Quraysh by saying, but God will not punish them while you, O Prophet, are amongst them. So long as you were in Mecca, this punishment didn't come to them. And, O Prophet, God will not punish them while they seek forgiveness. So the other possibility that this punishment would not come to them is that if they start seeking forgiveness and correct and mend their ways, which was an invitation to the people of Quraysh to actually correct themselves. And therefore, this invitation is further extended in verses 38 and 39. The Almighty says, قُلْ لِلَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, tell those people who have disbelieved, إِن يَنْتَهُوا, if they stop, يُغْفَرْ لَهُمْ مَا قَدْ سَلَفْ, whatever they have done before, it's going to be forgiven. That is, if they stop doing it and they start accepting the message of the Almighty, all that they did in the past is going to be forgiven. وَإِن يَعُودُوا, however, if they are going to repeat, if they're going to continue to disbelieve and show enmity towards God's message and His messenger, then فَقَدْ مَضَتْ سُنَّةُ الْأَوَّلِينَ, they should know that God's policy regarding the earlier nations has already been implemented, and you know about it. We have informed you through the Quran the fate of those people who rejected God's messengers, and they were ultimately annihilated. And in verse 42, the Almighty is saying that this whole incident, this whole battle of Badr, the way it was fought, if you look at it carefully, you would know that this was all planned by God. He says, recall when you were on the near side of the valley and they were on the farther side, the army of the Quraysh enemies, and the trade caravan was lower in position than you. If you would have made an appointment to meet, you would have missed it. See, it's a big desert, and it's without any means of communication. It would almost be impossible for two armies to come together and meet and fight. But the Almighty made sure that it happens. So if you would have made an appointment to meet, you would have missed it, but it happened so that God might accomplish a matter that was already destined. God had already decided that the Quraysh leadership is going to be killed, is going to be annihilated. That those who perish should perish with clear evidence. لِيَهْلِكَ مَنْ هَلَكَ عَنْ بَيِّنَةٍ. They should perish with clear evidence of their evil. And those who live, they should live with clear evidence of their truth. وَمَنْ يَحْيَا مَنْ حَيَّا وَيَحْيَا مَنْ حَيَّا عَنْ بَيِّنَةٍ. So the one who lives should live with clear evidence. That's exactly what happens when the messengers are there, that the people who reject, they are punished and killed on the basis of truth, clear evidence. And those who survive and those who are successful, it's clear that they were the ones who were the good, well-meaning people. And that's exactly what's going to happen on the Day of Judgment to the entire human population. So this incident of people in the Prophet's time being divided into two clear, distinct groups, it was meant for the entire humankind to know that when God has arranged for such things to happen in this worldly life, in the case of few messengers, it's only meant to make sure that people know that this relatively smaller event in a certain part of the globe, in the Arabian Peninsula, is going to be done on a large scale to every human being, every human group on the Day of Judgment. And because these companions of the Prophet were the ones who were now being required to become the tools of the Almighty for the purpose of inflicting His punishment, He is asking them to prepare themselves militarily for the cause as well. So God says, وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُم مَّا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ وَمِن رِّبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ, and prepare against them with whatever you are able to with your troops, and trained horses by which you may terrify the enemies of God and your enemies as well, and those others besides them whom you do not know, but whom God knows. And whatever you are going to do in this matter, in the goodness, it's going to be returned to you. يُوَفَّى إِلَيْكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لَا تُظْلَمُونَ, and you will not be harmed. Nothing unjust is going to happen to you. So what it means is that the believers should prepare themselves fully and properly for the battle, because this battle that they're going to fight is going to be fought for the sake of the Almighty. But this battle was fought for bringing out the final results only after the Almighty sent His ultimate decision. The exact date was also mentioned. It was after the conquest of Mecca in the 9th century, 9th Hijrah, 9th year of migration. Before that, God wanted people to get the opportunity of reconsidering their opinion, revisiting their stance, their attitude. So, in verses 61 to 63, he says, وَإِن جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. If they incline to peace, then you too incline to it. That is, we are not interested in battle unless it becomes absolutely unavoidable. So if they are showing interest to come to peace and to consider the message of God and to accept and believe in it, go ahead, O Prophet and the companions of him. You also incline yourself to peace. And God says, Innahu huwa Samiul Alim. Indeed, God is all hearing, all knowing. That is, you incline towards peace as well, but tawakkal ala Allah, and have faith in God. Trust God. Because obviously there must have been this apprehension that if they are going to incline towards peace, this may turn out to be a ploy, a trap from the enemy, and they may then attack them and take them by surprise. So the Almighty says, don't worry about it. Take the chance and go for peace. That's what the message is, generally speaking, for Muslims. Go as far as you can in ensuring that peace is maintained. Unless it becomes absolutely unavoidable, battles and wars must not be fought. مَن يُرِيدُ أَن يَخْدَعُوكَ, and if they would intend to deceive you, فَإِنَّ حَسْبَكَ اللَّهُ, then be sure that God is going to be enough for you. He's going to take care of you. You should have good intentions, and you should try as best as you can to bring them to peace. If they incline towards peace as well, go ahead and don't worry about the negative possibilities. فَإِنَّ حَسْبَكَ اللَّهُ, because God is enough for you, O believers. هُوَ الَّذِي أَيَّدَكَ بِنَصْرِهِ وَبِالْمُؤْمِنِينَ. O Prophet, He is the one, God is the one who helped you with His support, and He helped you through believers, your companions. وَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِهِمْ, and He created sympathy, concern amongst your companions, believers, with each other. لَوْ أَنْفَقْتَ فِي الْأَرْضِ مَا فِي الْأَرْضِ جَمِيعًا. Had you spent whatever was there, whatever is there upon the earth and the surface of the earth, all wealth, to enable them to come together and have sympathy for each other, you couldn't have done it. لو أنفقت ما في الأرض جميعا ما ألفت بين قلوبهم ولكن الله ألف بين قلوبهم. But God did it. He caused their hearts to come together, to be reconciled, to be sympathetic towards each other. Innahu azizun hakim. Indeed, He is mighty and wise. He had to accomplish His purpose, His task, and he knows his ways of doing it. And one of the things he did was that he made sure that the companions of the Prophet are caring, loving to each other. Then we move on to the verse or verses which are talking about the obligation of believers to fight against the enemy, given that they have attained a certain military strength. So the Almighty is saying, Ya ayyuhallazina aman, Ya ayyuhan nabi, O Prophet, harridil mu'minina al qital. You motivate believers to fight against the enemy. If there are among you 20 who are steadfast, they will overcome 200. And if there are 100, they will overcome 1,000. Why? Because they are a people who do not understand. The enemies, they don't understand. They have not used their intellect. They are on the wrong path, and therefore they are weak, morally weak, and they will be scared and they will be timid. And our believers, the army of the believers, is going to be able to overcome them and inflict defeat upon them. However, after this verse was revealed, sometime later, another verse was revealed, which said, Al-an khaffafallahu ankum. Now, God has lightened your burden. وَعَلِمَ أَنَّ فِيكُمْ ضَعْفًا. And He knows that among you is weakness. That is, now He doesn't require the ratio of 1 to 10 to be considered while you are thinking of the possibility of fighting against the enemy. If you are 100, you will be able to overcome 200. And if you are 1,000, you will be able to overcome 2,000. Wallahu ma'as sabirin, and God is along with those who are steadfast. So, in other words, if believers are at least half as strong militarily as their enemies, and there is a need for a battle, genuine need, like the enemy is inflicting persecution on people for following their religion. They are creating chaos, mischief. After having exhausted all diplomatic ways of bringing these people who are doing it to senses, if that's not bringing in the results, then the Almighty says that it's the obligation of believers, if they are united and they have a ruler, that they fight against the enemy. But this would only happen if their military might is at least half as strong as the enemy's, or else it would not be a religious obligation. Now, before the final onslaught, the final attack of punishment, which is mentioned in the next surah, Surah Tawbah, the Almighty decided that the city of Medina is going to be the center point, the headquarter, and all believers from Mecca and elsewhere were asked to migrate to Medina to show and prove that they were believers. So, migration had been declared to be absolutely essential. So, the Almighty says that إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَهَاجَرُوا وَجَاهَدُوا بِأَمْوَالِهِمْ وَأَنفُسِهِمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Indeed, those who believe and have migrated and have fought with their wealth and their lives in the cause of God. وَالَّذِينَ آوَوا وَنَصَرُوا, as well as those who gave shelter and aided them. أُولَٰئِكَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ بَعْضٍ. They are friends, brothers, allies of one another. But those who believe and have not migrated for you, there is no relationship of help and support with them. That is, migration has become necessary. It's now Medina, which is the headquarter, which is the capital for all Muslims at that time, and they all need to come there. Unless obviously somebody has a genuine excuse, like people are old, and for women and children it was not possible. But there were others who were otherwise physically fit and had the resources to migrate. It became necessary and essential for them to migrate. So the Almighty says that if there are people who do not migrate, then there is no relationship of help and support with them until they migrate. However, if they seek your help in religion, these Muslims who are not as yet in Medina, they have not migrated as yet, and they ask your help, assistance, then you must help. You must help them, except against people with you who with them you have a covenant. There is a misak, there is a peace agreement. Then even if Muslims of that tribe are asking you for help, you cannot fight them, because the Almighty takes treaties, promises, covenants so seriously that we can't go against our promises. And be sure that God is watching everything that you are doing. So this surah prepared for the ultimate punishment that was to be inflicted on the enemy, on those who disbelieved and rejected the message of God. And in the next surah, inshallah, we'll see how the Almighty mentions the actual punishment that was sent by the Almighty to the kuffar, the disbelievers. May God enable us to understand His book, His message properly, and may He enable us to follow it as best as we can.